Japan's having an incredible design moment right now. For me, it's not enough to just observe it and comment on it. I want to be part of it. So we're starting a Japanese fashion brand as soon as possible. Japanese design, Japanese fabric. It's going to be made in Japan, and it's going to be sold to Japanese people as well as anyone in the world. I'm Japanese, but it's kind of a funny relationship with Japan. I've got a Japanese passport, I've got a Japanese face, and I've traveled to Japan every year my entire life. I keep finding excuses to return, to buy fabric, to visit designers. And it's really apparent that I have a connection to this culture. But what's really attracted me to Tokyo, to Japan, is that if I get to work within that fashion universe, I'll be able to find out more about myself as well. And every story that I tell with Japanese fabric or Japanese silhouettes will also be in a way autobiographical, and I'll be able to figure out more things about myself, more things about my family, more things about this culture that I've heard about my entire life, but haven't really been a part of. It's always been a dream of mine to live in Japan and to be somewhat authentically Japanese. But life has brought my family to a weird spot. It brought me to Singapore, it brought me to Australia and Melbourne. And if it wasn't for this fashion business, what would end up happening was I'd be a doctor for the rest of my life, not only in Australia, but in Melbourne, in a certain part of Melbourne. And my life was quite predictable in a way. I could tell you 17 years from now on a random Wednesday where I'd be. I could tell you that, with 100% accuracy. But now my life is different. Like right now I run a fashion business that is kind of discombobulated. The fabric is from Japan, but then we bring it over to China, and then we sell it mostly to the US, the UK, and Europe. A little bit comes to Australia as well, but it's fragmented. It doesn't really have a geographical or cultural identity beyond what is in my brain. And it would be really nice to consolidate all of those things into something that is more cohesive. And I can't say that I represent Japan with everything that I do, but maybe having a more consolidated point of view might make the story of the clothes more compelling. So making clothes in Japan is not something that you can just do, right? It's taken us 3 years of the business to be able to maybe start having these conversations. First thing is access. As a very small company, and we still are, we don't really have a lot of buying power. We can't go to a mill, we can't go to a factory going like, we're here and open up our checkbooks and buy thousands of things. We're constantly really negotiating because we're not in a place of power. We buy, in the low hundreds, not in the thousands. So it's always trying to sell people on this idea of continued business that will be back often and frequently and for a long time. And that problem exists anywhere. But when you compound it with Japan, there are so many other struggles. There's language struggles, like I'm Japanese, but I don't really speak business Japanese. It comes out broken, and it comes in mixed with a lot of English. So I'll need a lot of help with translation. I'll need a fixer on the ground. The other thing is I don't know anyone. Like my real background is making things in Australia, making things in China, and that really was a growing process. But making things in Japan is a pretty tight industry. It's not on the internet. It's not on trade shows. It's all about who knows who knows who. And to crack that takes more than money. It takes more than patience. It takes a lot of luck. It's not surprising for Japanese culture. So much of it is contextual. So I was in the countryside for a week and a half, just meeting people, shaking hands. And even the fact that I didn't have a physical business card, which is something that I should have thought about, really counted against me. And you could feel the temperature of the room change when I didn't have anything to hand back. Like so much of it is this ritual of like grabbing the other person's business card, taking a look at it quite intently, and then putting it into your pocket. And the whole thing is just a charade, really, because everyone's looking up each other on Instagram anyway. But it's this ritual of respect that I couldn't take a part in that really put me off on the wrong foot when meeting people. And when you extrapolate that times 100 little small social interactions with Japanese people, just really pushing stuff uphill. Like doing business negotiations in China is completely different. It's I've got money, let's do business. And within seconds, suddenly you're family. But in Japan, it's different currencies. It's currencies of money and time, obviously, just like it is anywhere else. But it's also about respect and trust and all these little gestures that add up to that. So over the last 6 months, I've been really becoming quite active in trying to find people who knew people, as the brand has become quite big online anyway. I was slowly becoming an entity that was able to be trusted, that we're going to be around for a while, that whatever we talk about has some sort of cultural value. Like when you couple that together with the sales figures that we did have from the start of the year, we became more and more trustable as an entity, trustable as a business, trustable as a designer, that we're a safe bet to work with. So this is just the start. We toured mills, we toured factories, and we toured dye houses and wash houses. And they're all located in this area called Kojima, which is in a broader area of Okayama, which is the manufacturing and denim capital of Japan, and some would say the denim capital of the world. And the things I'm seeing are incredible. Like, usually what you'd have to do is you'd have to go to a Japanese mill via Hong Kong or via China, and your minimum buy would be thousands of meters. I mean, it still is. And you take a look at their books and maybe you have 10, 12 choices of things that are running in stock. And that doesn't give you a lot of versatility in terms of the fabrics to play with. And if you do commit to something, you're committing to 1,000 meters, which means creatively, you've got to start using the same fabric in a few different silhouettes. Your collection starts to look very limited. But in these small mills in Kojima, once they start opening the doors, you're not only designing the clothes, you're designing the fabric as well. Like different sort of books start opening up. Instead of opening up books about which fabric to choose, they're opening up the yarn with like different nanometers. And they're telling you, hey, we can make any fabric that you want. Tell us, whether it's cotton this way, silk that way. And then you're starting to make a cotton silk fabric for a pair of jeans. And the amount of control that you have in terms of the microns and thicknesses of the fabric, the dye, the washes, suddenly you start to have a lot of control that you wouldn't otherwise have as a small business. Suddenly you have as much control as a luxury house. And that, from a design creative point of view, is really exciting, like super scary as well, because I don't know anything about these nanometers. I could easily make a very expensive mistake, but it puts us in the game. Our first things will drop later half of the year. Best case scenario, it will happen in August, September. But what's most likely is that it'll probably be at the end of the year, start of next year. And when it comes down to design and production, there are going to be thousands of little conversations and thousands of little mistakes potentially that can happen along the way. I've been through this process many times before in Australia and in China, and Japan will be no different. And what makes me a little bit nervous, I suppose, is that embedded in all those small decisions is not direct communication. It's not that sort of culture. It's things that are couched in respect, in being indirect and being subtle and acknowledging hierarchy of experience. So I don't know how that's going to go, considering that my confidence as a designer is growing and I defer to people less and less as my journey goes along. So this is what we're looking for in a factory. We're looking for a very, very small mill. We're looking also for a very, very small factory. And the benefits of being small is that a little bit of work will be enough for them. When you go to a big factory, they're certainly very efficient. They can pump out 400 jeans in a day. But the problem is that means the minimum order becomes 400 jeans. So working with smaller factories, you give up the fact that they are slower, but a little bit of work makes them happy. And that's kind of the place that we want to live in. The other benefit of making stuff in Japan is that we have a lot of authentic craft that goes into the products. Not only is it like a cultural attitude, but also that there are things that they have discovered about dye. There are things that they've discovered about the knitting process, the weaving process of certain fabrics. Because they're so intellectually guarded, that stuff really hasn't leaked into other places in the world like China, India, in Europe. They've guarded those secrets in a way. That's a big reason why we can't film in a lot of those factories. We can't film in a lot of those wash houses, dye houses. So we have to really make use of a lot of that Japanese technique and Japanese technology. So what that means is we'll start to have a lot of exciting fabrics that start coming out, like Japanese denim that uses paper yarn, washi yarn, silk denim, linen denim, and then we'll be able to custom design a silhouette based on that fabric. I think there is a certain romance as well that I'll be able to take part in, something that's centuries old, something that says made in Japan, and right next to our label, being able to show that just to myself really, that I am part of this lineage of Japanese design might be the most compelling thing about the entire project. It's such a kind of an interesting touchstone when it comes to minimalist design, subtle design, that a lot of people co-opt that idea, Japanese inspired. Our fabric's from Japan, but it's made somewhere else. I'm guilty of that too. But being able to consolidate all of those things and produce something that is truly made in Japan, I want to experience that as a designer. It might not work out commercially, it might not work out critically, but it's something that I think I need to experience that in my life before my time is done.